Today we have a wonderful treat, and you can see why he is speaking on creativity because some of his creative works are around. That first picture was us when I locked in that one. So if y'all don't know Lander, that's him in the middle. And Lander, I'm not going to try to introduce you because it's just too much. I don't even know where to begin. I'm just going to let you come up here and do your own thing. I brought my phone to remind me to tell you all to turn this off so we don't embarrass ourselves. And with that, take it away. It is on.
Okay. Well, Ginger, thank you so much. Um, so I have been doing really just some playing around with creativity for a while. I have I have a group of colleagues. Um, we have been meeting together for about 21 years, just once a year for a week, and we do some things with creativity. Um, These are our fellow uh, Presbyterian clergy, so it does involve a little single malt scotch, and that seems to help with the creativity. But we've done things from songwriting to poetry to coppersmithing to woodworking and a bunch of other things, and so that it's been an enjoyable and a valuable thing. Um, what does creativity do, and why would you want to be involved in creativity? I think creativity really is something that can expand our way of thinking. We can look at things a little differently. But one of the things that I've noticed is and learned in some of this time that we've spent together is that I have a pretty good inner critic. Do you know what an inner critic is? You know the critic that says you can't do that. You shouldn't try that. But one of the things I've learned with creativity is that in order to be creative, one of the things you need to do is to silence that inner critic. I'd like to begin with a little exercise for you. If you don't have something to write with, I brought some things. Um, of course, I serve Grand Avenue Presbyterian Church, which is just across the street, and being from a church, I've got some crayons. Uh, I also have some pencils. Um, but I'd like for you to get out something to write with. I hope everybody got a piece of paper. And I'd like for you to try out this exercise just for a couple of minutes. We'll do it really quickly. What I want you to do is to, well, think about maybe some of these images up here. Pardon me? No, that is not my clergy group, although I was with a student group from the University of Oklahoma in the religious studies program. Um, we were in Turkey for about 2.5 weeks, and we're meeting with religious people. These the man in the middle is a Sufi, and part of what happens in a whirling dervish, which is what this is now this is different than like if you went on a cruise and you went to a whirling dervish show, this is actually a place where they do this as religious practice. So in some ways, what they're doing is they are putting themselves in an ecstatic state by whirling. And over on the left-hand side, you see two young boys who are in training to be able to do this. It's amazing. Each one of these dances would go on for maybe 25 or 30 minutes, twirling the whole time, and they didn't get dizzy. Pardon? Yeah, they in essence are meditating. They put themselves in an ecstatic state as it becomes a kind of prayer and movement altogether. Well, so now what I'd like for you to do is I'll just show you some images. I want you to think of what it is you're feeling as you see some of these images. Pick out something, or it doesn't have to be one of these images. It can be something else altogether. Take what you're going to write with or draw with, put it on your paper, and I want you to draw something without taking your writing instrument off of the page. So just think it doesn't have to be anything to do with what you're seeing here. This is the library at Ephesus if you want to know about it. This is at Lake Texoma. But think of something you may be feeling. Put your instrument onto your page and draw without taking it up. You can look at it if you want to, but draw something. Maybe it's space, maybe it's a tree, maybe it's an animal, maybe it's a thought about something else. Um, Try drawing this, not this, try drawing what you have in mind. Do you have something done? So now turn to someone near you and tell them what you like about what you've done. Yeah. So let's come back together. How did you do? Was it easy to tell someone what you liked about what you did? No. What, was it tempting to say, well, this wasn't very good, but part of part of the intention of that is to do something that might be a little hard, um, but to silence your inner critic by having to think about what it is you like, what you appreciate about what it is that you're able to draw. Um, if you want to do something well, something that a friend of mine told me several years ago, you have to be willing to do it badly. You have to be willing to do it badly if you want to do it well. That's true for many things. It's true for music. It's true for art. It's true for any number of things. If you're willing to do it badly, then you can get better at what it is you're doing. So, for example, this was my first effort at stone carving. I thank you. It's not very big. It's this little guy right here. It's a piece of soapstone. Um, Jenna and I went to a place called Ghost Ranch in near Abiquiu, New Mexico, and had a great teacher for about 5 days. She gave us some projects if we wanted to do a project. I said I wanted to try something a little different, and so I started out with this uh, piece of soapstone, and let's see, oh, here it is. So I don't know if you can see that. I'll pass it around. Um, this is a piece of the original stone. That's what it looked like, uncut and unpolished. And then I'll tell you about this little owl in a little bit. This is a piece of that original stone. Doesn't it look different? Isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah. So, so there are lots of things that you can have fun with creativity. One of the earliest things that I did in terms of creativity was way back in high school was with photography, and I've had a lot of fun with that uh, for many years. Those two pictures were out at Yosemite from about 12 years ago or 13, I think. So the one of the other interests that I've developed along the way is poetry and trying my hand at it anyway. I Let me swap places. So if you will indulge me, I will share a little poetry with you. I went to a writing workshop uh, about 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago, uh, with a couple of people in Kodiak, Alaska. Actually, it was at a fish camp in Uyak Bay, which is about an hour's float plane ride away from Kodiak. A beautiful little spot um, where this woman's husband fishes and she does writing workshops and she has guests come in to help with those writing workshops. So I thought that sounded like a good thing. Here's actually um, something I wrote on the plane on the way back from Alaska. The look of love. An older, handsome couple sits close. He leans his head against the airplane window. She rests hers on his shoulder. He checks to see she's comfortable. She strokes his hand, turns just so. No need to look. Her eyes dip closed. One row up, a young couple sits together, she cradling their baby, now past all the motions of settling in, dozing in the unknowing dreaminess of a 2-year-old. He reaches across her to close the shade, shielding her from bright sunlight above the clouds. She pulls the pale green surgical mask below her chin to sip a mimosa, a taste of something normal in all the turbulence that's shaken them. She removes her cap, covering wisps of hair not yet stolen by chemo. He takes their little girl to his lap, her fine soft hair held by tiny red bows with curly pigtails bouncing. He taps at cartoon characters on a screen to soothe her. She unbuckles her belt, shuffles over his legs for a trip to the lavatory, looks down at him and at their daughter with bright, lively eyes. There's confidence in this journey, perhaps the bumpiest behind them. He'll shield the sunlight from her. She'll hold his gaze with sky blue eyes. Another day, he'll check to see she's comfortable. She'll stroke his hand with ease. The look of love will hold them. There are lots of different places to be inspired to write poetry. Um, this one was at Brahms in Hillsboro, Texas. He opens her car door, waits for her to swing out, one leg, then another. She's nearly breathless. He helps her stand as she leans on the hood of the car. He holds her hand as they step through the automatic doors, making their way to the restrooms. He orders a small ice cream cone for each of them, awaiting her reappearance. Who would notice with her slight limp, dimming eyes, and more to carry across her midriff than most? The love that still shines, brighter than her eyes can tell, or his gentle assistance would call out. They once skipped as kids on a hot summer's beach, made love after lunch, and laughed late into the night. Her hips aren't so limber. His libido must be chemically charged. He still turns at night to caress her sagging breasts. She entwines her arthritic fingers with his. They drift into the night, satisfaction seeping into their dreams. Long years of affection warms their tenderness. Love enough to see them through. Let's see. The danger of writing poetry. A damp afternoon, rain drips off the eaves in heavy drops on the brick patio. The rest of the house is quiet. A good time to write. I should come up with something clever, an unusual insight, or should I go for humor? Pull an earlier piece to modify, scan Billy Collins or Mary Oliver for a nugget of an idea. I've invited folks to join me for Cinco de Mayo on Zoom. We can make our writing time a Margarita Monday, a respite from the busyness of recent weeks and yet another day of political chaos. A small pitcher of a citrusy cocktail would be refreshing. A nice tequila, a little triple sec, a wedge of wine, some simple syrup. Equal parts sugar and water brought to a boil. I'll start it right away. This one aged lime in the produce drawer won't do. Hard on one side, black and puckered on the other. The 5th of May, an excuse for Americanos del Norte to splurge on tiny, overpriced avocados, diced onion and tomatoes, a clove of garlic, crushed, salt, pepper, and lime juice. Shall I run to the store or get some words down before I go? A can of Rotel is on the shelf. Diced tomatoes, spicy chilies, but fresh would be so much better. It's not Mexican Independence Day, that's sometime in September. That this date in May is a bigger celebration here than it is in Mexico, where few remember the French Empire was defeated in the Battle of Puebla on the end of May 1862. General Ignacio Zaragoza, the victor, died months later from an unknown illness, followed by the defeat of the Mexican army at the Second Battle of Puebla, and Mexico City was occupied by a much larger French force. There must have been bangs of artillery fire exchanged for years until the United States began lending money and guns to Mexican liberals to win the withdrawal of French troops. Why would we celebrate a date that's not even that important to Mexicanos? A loud bang startles me. Has a transformer shorted out? Has a squirrel sacrificed itself on the line? It sounds much closer. Then I see it. Smoke is rising from my favorite pan. I turn off the forgotten flame. Black lava bubbles up. Simple syrup threatens to erupt onto the stove. It grows even as I take off the glass lid, careful not to let any of it touch me. Writing poetry, putting words together is a dangerous task when you get lost in history. While something's on the stove, now I'm scrubbing a pot. So let's see. Now, I have a couple of very long-time friends. Um, they eventually married, second marriages for both of them. One was a classmate, and the other was my most influential professor. They spent lots of time hiking in many different places, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico. She identified herself as an eagle, and he identified himself as an owl. Barbara's a few years older than me. Tom, my former professor, died last year at 91. So I, I carved this little owl to give to her, which she has loaned back to me so that I could show you today. The paradox of love. They loved each other in ways some might find daringly vulnerable, shared ideas on the edge of acceptability, identified feelings with a bareness no fig leaves could cover. The two of them tucked into a sleeping bag on a moonless night atop a New Mexico mesa, talk of ideas, mystery, meaning. So far from the everyday, their souls intertwined in mystical harmony light up the stars above them. Boundaries fall between them. They grow like two trees from the musty earth, their trunks entwined until they are inseparably one. They drink in one another's souls like clear streams of water, only to be quenched by more and more and more. Gentle spirit, a soft breeze flowing between them, around them, silence enfolds them. Exquisite touch, sensitive, sensual. Eros is present, a flame rises within them, ablaze with passion, intense and burning. They loved each other. They wrote and taught, traveled and spoke, challenged each other, laughed and thought. He knew it would end one day. She loved him to the point of death. She was not through. Love grew more intense. She found reminders of him in journals meticulously kept, in old grocery lists, in notes in the margins of books. She heard condolences, was encouraged to move on, was told to find a new place, but love persisted. She shook with grief, was overcome by reminders, found herself in tears in the strangest of places. If grief is persistence of love, then perhaps that is where she would find him. In the dusty journal, the mystery of a moonless night, love intensifying, persisting. Go, look for the signs of love. Pull out a magnifying glass, dust off the shelves for overlooked memories, lust for tender bits of lovemaking recalled. If this too is love, death does not have the last word. Fall in love with the sudden moments of grief, moments that say, yes, this is what we had. Love that soothes you to sleep, fills your dreams, startles you awake. Luxuriate in its reminders. Welcome its voice that says, this is true. It once was. It is now. It still is. Love from the two hairs of her little toe to the hairless crown of his head, arms stretched out to reach toward infinity and brush its paradox. Love, embodied in fleshy souls, doesn't end in disembodied finitude. Desire intensifies with absence. Longing stretches into memory. Silence, a companion to endure. This is another early piece that I wrote. I was thinking about it for something that that we celebrate not with great fanfare, but with some acknowledgement. Um, All Saints Day, a part of remembering those who have gone before us and honoring their lives. Oh, grief. You made an early visit when I was a kid. You become a more frequent visitor as I age. A great grandma when I was just a boy. Why can't I come with you? You need to stay here and play with the other kids. You shouldn't let this visitor in when you're so young. A little brother, so happy to have, for so short a time. Solemn words whispered as complications come hours after being born. Gathering in the low-lit room of a funeral parlor around a tiny casket, a still tinier body lying inside. What will I never know? What might have been? Dad, weeping like never before at the graveside, looking down at tiny fingers, a sweet round face reflecting his own. A high school friend I thought too pretty to ask out, caught in a careless act, a car driven too fast a week after graduation, too afraid to hear the sounds of your visit to attend a service. A grandmother entrusting herself to surgery, resigned to the fate of an aggressive cancer. Sweet remembrances of fragrant cooking, her protective arms around me. You visit more often now. Friends I've come to love, whose health falters with age or illness. Dear and generous people who accepted me. A big, gentle man, He uttered the great prayer of thanksgiving with such reverence, its timbre is still resonant within me, a long, lingering illness. A friend, so young, he believed lofty ideals were easy, possessed such sharp intelligence, his sister was mad with envy. So quick a wit, jocks and drama clubbers alike laughed with him. An oncoming car crossed over the center line. One whose faith was in plants and prairie, whose generosity praised creation's splendor, who saw photographic light in shades of gray or shadow, a fading diminishment into the darkness of dementia. Another who gave her whole self to her life's love, who lifted hearts as she gave life to songs and hymns, who gave her soul to securing the future of favored institutions. This is the day the Lord hath made, she would utter, even on the day she began hospice care. An aged church member taught me the breadth of others' faith, giving thanks for doctors who offer praise in different form and language. She welcomed her last breath with ease. A sweet and admiring dog, she sought out my lap at every sitting, was my company from home to grad school and back. A standoffish cat, determined to warm herself on my chest. You have come to visit with each one. I make note of your intent. More to come. Your presence marks pain, bigger than their absence. There is no real measure of your presence. Grief is grief, and not to be compared. And yet, your presence may be so sacred a way of honoring their absence. I don't wish to see you. I do not welcome your visit. Yet when you come, I must open the door. I will sit with you, close, and remember. I'll I'll take a chance on reading this. Um, this is the danger of writing poetry too. Poetry can be mysterious. A writer may scrawl lines that point toward a blue door of loneliness, a red space of passion, a yellow spot of sunshine, a green patch of vines. But a reader may find those lines lead to the threshold of locked doors. The poet holding tightly to the skeleton key, taunting the curious to pick the obscure lock of meaning. Poetry can be funny. A writer may point to embarrassing blunders, tipping over the root of a word, spilling soup on a pair of brand new pants, putting glasses that are on top of one's head, moments of life that are absurd. But a reader may find lines that lead to memories best left alone, to humor that fizzles into, you really had to be there. Only when the clown falls flat do others begin to laugh. Poetry can be real when a writer runs out of ink. Simile draws a blank, metaphors mix like oil and water. There's nothing to write with but blood, drawn from the truth of who you are. One poet said, tell the truth, but tell it slant. Another said, know the truth, and it will set you free. And another, know the truth, and it will make you odd. An old native woman once said, know the truth, and it will make you dangerous. The danger of writing poetry is the writer may get so carried away by truth-telling that it will cause some people to have bladder spasms. And once their bladder spasmed off, they forget about the poem. They're just pissed at you. Oh, beware your tender hearts, poets. Be timid about the truth, and no one will be pleased. Offer tepid words, and no one will praise you. Tell the truth boldly, and the stormy critics come. You can't say that. It's not going to please people. Good luck getting anybody to listen. See if you can get that published. If the poem, like a good story, like a sneaky parable, isn't to please people, it's to call them to account, to tell them the truth, make it heard or seen or known as it hasn't been before, what's a poor poet to do but write it? Give a rapist a pass, and he will not listen to the objections of victims. He will impose his will, his power, his preferences on anything and anyone. He will pull off a shakedown until he's shackled up, rob the people by legal means, no threat of guns, steal the margins of their income, slap new taxes on everything, funnel to the rich crowd money they have not earned, lock away food from starving babies. It's too expensive to give away. They're already half dead. Incinerated instead. Turn a blind eye to the hungry and gaze happily at God's commandments posted piously on a wall. Give power to a slick Bible salesman to decide what children will learn, and you'll get idolatry of the holy word, what some call bibliolatry. Indoctrinate the classroom, and you'll get Moses' little brother's golden calf every time. Where would we be without the truth if we invested our hope in nothing but Powerball and Pied Piper of deceit? Oh, this poet's in trouble now, pointing to who we've become by letting all this happen. If we hear a word of clarity, maybe we can awaken, reclaim who we might be if we listen to a word from a poet no more dangerous than me. Do you all know the word Selah? If you take a dip into the Hebrew scriptures, Selah is a word that appears from time to time, often in the Psalms. It sometimes appears in other Hebrew poetry and other places. Do you know that nobody knows what it means? I was hoping that Annalore Page might be here today. There are some guesses about what it means, but no one knows for sure. Selah. No one knows for sure what it means. We read it in the Psalms and other Hebrew poetry, an ancient rubric long forgotten. Stop and listen. Say it again. May your blessing be on your people. Selah. They will receive blessing from the Lord. Say it again. Such is the company of those who seek him, who seek the face of God of Jacob. Stop and listen. God is our refuge and strength. Therefore, we will not fear, though mountains tremble with tumult. Listen close. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Ah, yes. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Sing the refrain. Salvation belongs to the Lord. Your blessing be on your people. Let that sink in. Pour out your heart before God, for God is a refuge for us. Sing the refrain. A lost word of instruction, a shard of exclamation, time for a musical interlude, or maybe a mild expletive. Darn, I broke another string. An old friend visited me in a dream. I woke up laughing. Let's do that again. A professor long gone appeared as I slept, a twinkle in his eye, a gift of a book. Pay attention, he said. Pay attention. A plea I whispered softly to myself. The next day, someone stepped through my office door, an unexpected gift. Stop and listen. Selah, Selah, Selah. How are we doing on time? You don't know. Well, so let me. Here's a little bear cub that I carved a few years ago. He was a. I was in a hurry to try to get this done. I spent actually just about a day on it, which is really rushing, even though it is quite small. Soapstone is something that's pretty easy to work with. It's relatively soft. It will scratch easily, even though you may have a finish on it. Um, but it is a delight to work with, and there are so many different colors, different veins that might run through them. If you pass those nuggets around, did they get all the way around? So you can see how different they are. They're both soapstone. They both look very different though when they're finished. Um, the the two on the end and this one, the little owl, those are different varieties of soapstone. The one in the middle is one that I just was working on. This is a piece of alabaster that I got in California. I went there. I've been wanting to go there for several years, and finally decided I just need to do it. So I went to art camp, um, and this is a piece of alabaster. What I discovered about alabaster is that it comes from gypsum mines. Basically, alabaster is just compressed chalk. It's heavy, but you don't want to get it wet, and you don't want to leave it in the sunshine. Um, Getting it wet will cause it to start to dissolve. It, it's very slow. It might be a little coat at a time, but after finishing it, you want to be sure to put a sealer on it. And so this piece that that I have here today, I maybe I could ask you what you think it is. It's supposed to be a muskox, although folks have lots of different guesses about what it might be. That was my intention. And afterwards, you're welcome to come up and take a look. I just ask that you not pick up the small ones because even doing that, it's possible to scratch the finish on them. But please come and see what you think of them. Maybe you have a suggestion for some improvements or something next time. So, so this is one that this is a piece of marble. It started out at about 75 pounds. I think it's down to about 70. Um, I still have a ways to go on it, and it's possible to overwork something, which I did the other day. I was trying to get it finished up to show you all, and his eyes are not quite straight now. Here's a little piece titled Unremarkable Times. A triad of Chinese blessings or curses offers troubling wishes. May you live in interesting times. Times of promise lead to times of turmoil. May you be recognized by people in high places. Recognition may attract unwanted attention from authorities. May you find what you're looking for, though it may lead to consequences you never imagined. May I live in unremarkable times. Watching a sunset, a dog leaning against my side. Walking along a quiet beach, water lapping at my feet. Sitting on the bank of a muddy creek, watching a snake swim silently across. Taking a turn on the dance floor with a line of people who haven't had partners in years. Listening to an oft-told story as though for the first time. Holding hands under a blanket on a chilly morning before the alarm goes off. Tasting wine and tapas with a friend when rain clouds open up, laughing as we get soaked on the walk home. Sitting with a friend as she lies dying, showing me how to courageously live. Unremarkable times, noticed by no one, unforgettable moments, irreplaceable for me. So sometimes poetry can be confessional. My brown-eyed girl. We have a thing between us, my brown-eyed girl and me. It's too easy to call it love. Maybe a longing for affection, an old emptiness remembered. While it may be semi-public, we don't talk about it much. Glances pass between us. I lie down, stretch out, and you slip quietly into the room. I hardly know you're there until I feel a slight shudder on the bed. You lay your head on my shoulder in the very spot that is my wife's. Look up at me with deep brown eyes that say, it's only you. It's only ever been you. You drape a leg over mine, then wriggle just so that my hand is on your soft belly. Without a word between us, your furtive look tells me you know what I want. Neither of us notices when my wife steps into the room. In a flash, you stand up, shocked, look her directly in the eyes as if to say, he meant nothing to me. and gleefully wag your tail in my face. I do have a picture to go with that somewhere. See if I, there it is. Yeah, yeah. Time. I never see our dogs watch the clock, but their bowels must be set to the best Swiss movement. They begin the wind up at 5:30 each morning, guiding me eagerly down the stairs. The cinnamon shepherd leads the way outside, followed by the smaller black lab mix, to check the points of the compass for last night's visitors. They clock in at each spot to leave a scented note, then ready themselves for breakfast and leisurely time at my feet. As I brush my teeth, wash my face, smooth away last night's stubble with a cheap twin blade, I slide 2 fingers over damp skin for any missed spots. How many times have I done this? I could multiply days times weeks times years and wonder how many more. How many do I have? I stand under the shower, rivulets of water warming my head, and wonder, is 10 squared possible? What would I do with that much time? How would I change the world in those decades? 70 years, not much time between forefathers and a poetic president who had less time than I've already been given. There's a lull in my day, a dip in my energy. A nap feels enticing, but there's more to do. Then a small black mutt begs for a trip outside. What if it's only a score of years left before me? Would I check the points on the compass for places I want to see, look for new friendships, and not pass them by, talk with a stranger, look for the person behind the mask, let my own mask down? If I had just a year, would it be enough to find one more adventure? To really see the person in front of me, to discover the gift of who this is in the time I've been given. As the dogs snore, the clock ticks. I can't pass this by. How much do I have left? Whether it's 100 or a day, it's now. Now is the time. Tell me how we're doing. Okay. Let's see. So, do you want to hear about love or a frightening time? Love or a frightening time? What's that? Frightening? Okay. Well, we'll do it, and then if others of you want to stay for love, we'll get back to that. Water, rock, air. It was crisp and cool. Last night's rain cleaned the air, brought the water up. A few more drops would keep the sun at bay. Leaning forward, hunkering down just so, couldn't contain the grin on my face as our guide aimed us into the Class 5 rapids of the Tuolumne. Torrents of water heaved up over gray stones as big as Volkswagens and older than Adam. Green water that flowed so gently moments ago formed white, foamy peaks above us, gushed and splashed and lapped up high, till there was no sky to see. The water pushed and tumbled us through its rumbling chute, no more than a nuisance of driftwood. We rode over rocks stubborn as a bulwark, never to give in. The water rushed around and over those great stones, determined to smooth and polish them into sand. We spilled with the water into a great pool of calm, where it gathered its potential to rush and tumble again against the stones. Our guide maneuvered my wife and sons and me below the rapids, where we gathered another bouncing, screaming raft to come through, where we expected another bouncing raft to come through. He asked if we'd like to try surfing while we waited. He guided our raft into the spill of water at the bottom of the chute. The water would push us down and away, while the backwash would hold us in place as we surfed this last rush of energy until we pushed away. Water gushed over the nose of the raft like a dam had broken right at my feet. We bobbed and wowed and laughed like we had become instant medal winners on the river. Off to the side this time, we waited for another raft. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first, to be fair for the next round of rapids. Want to go surfing again? Michael said. We paddled over from where we waited, not head in this time, but at an angle. We came up on the right, where I was knifing the water with my paddle, instead of the rounded rubber front of the raft coming to the bottom of the chute. Like a rock pitched wrong, I was thrown into the rush of water without even catching my breath. I came up under the raft, separated by millimeters from my wife's and son's feet and any hope for air. The tanned young woman with curly dark hair said in her safety drill, "If you wind up in the water, you may come up under the raft. Walk with your hands in a straight line on the bottom of the raft until you come out from under it. Many people panic and go in circles. That's how they drown." I walked with my hands just below my family's feet. I wished I could thump them to let them know, here I am. I'm okay. But I needed air. It was a good straight line, just like she said. I was calm, but I needed air. I pictured divers trapped under ice, taking in bubbles formed there. My lungs pled for oxygen. I felt like I had only a quarter of a real breath. I got to the edge and could see the darker, tubular side where I would come out, ready for air. As soon as I reached it, the water took me down like a lost aluminum water bottle. Sunlight disappeared. There was no bottom to push off from, no up from down, no air. I kicked with every measure of strength, paddled with my arms, but which way was I going? My lungs screamed at me to gulp. I felt my body's automatic response to take in air. I forced myself with a firm no, and then, oh God, if this is how I'm going to go, okay, okay. No sooner had I said it than I saw a greenish, hazy light. My head bobbed to the surface some 30 feet downstream from the raft. I was so full of water, I could barely gasp. I couldn't call to them for help as they poked their paddles in the water around them. My head nearly dipped back into the water when I heard my son say, "There he is, over there." I felt like one of the many fish I've seen turn belly up in defeat by the time they reached me in the raft. My running back son leaned over the side, grabbed the life jacket at my shoulders and fell back into the raft, letting his own weight lift me out of the water and back into air. Thank you all so much. Oh, no? Okay. All right. All right. Stages of love. He whistles happy tunes, thinking of her. Butterflies flutter in his stomach when he sees her flip her ponytail and look his way. The first date is awkward. A goodnight kiss at her front door. They want to explore more until a little sister turns the porch light off and on, off and on, off and on. Movies, a picnic, the prom, late night conversations on the phone, a coiled cord stretched to the downstairs bathroom. Giddy smiles for photos in front of a fireplace, imagining what might be after graduation. Eyes meet across a crowded lecture hall. Book bags are tossed into a booth. Bites of cafeteria sandwiches lead to dreams of sailing, hiking mountain trails, travels to out-of-state parks. Big questions about what's important for a good life. A group of friends dance at a country bar. Beer and laughs are shared across a high-top table. Quieter talk later as they hold hands, sitting on a soft couch. She leans into his shoulder. Friends become bridesmaids. Groomsmen are given ties and told to wear dark blue. Advice on everything there is to know about marriage is on a list they go over in their heads. Remember her birthday. His favorite color is blue. Forgiveness goes a long way. It is okay to say you're sorry. Don't go to bed angry. Laugh together. Be sure to host friends. Get a real table. Eat at it. Remember to say thanks. He wipes her brow, holds her hand, reminds her to breathe through the pain, blows puffs of air with her through contractions. Here is this beautiful baby. Tears of relief, smiles of joy, as this newborn snuggles on her chest. The richer or poor, he thinks to himself. Cries awake them in the middle of the night. She cradles their child, places a cool cloth on a hot forehead. He mops up a messy floor, changes soiled sheets. She cheers the team on from flat bleachers. He cups his hands and calls out, "Great double play." Sitting side by side on folding chairs, she reaches for his hand. Pomp and circumstance plays for a 14th time. He unloads the last plastic tub, balances a lamp across its top. Goodbyes are teary. Smiles break through damp cheeks. We're so proud of you. We love you so much. He reaches for her hand, a sleepy dog in the back seat, driving home to an empty nest. She wonders whether to make this a guest room or a cozy spot to read. Maybe space for a new hobby. One day, place for a mother-in-law. A grandchild's playroom, if they're so blessed. Exploring intimacy becomes fun in a house not this quiet since a crib was first assembled. He plans adventures on mountain trails. She laughs as they complain about sore feet. She arranges sailing lessons. They breakfast with mimosas on a beach. She makes a note to self,
have this lump checked out at my next appointment. In sickness and in health, she sighs. Anniversaries breeze by like signposts on a highway. He doesn't remember dates so well. Faces aren't placed. Forgetfulness clouds the afternoons. Will he know about the one coming up? Will she survive this return of cancer? She gets up with him in the middle of the night. He shuffles to the bathroom, preferring her warm arm to the cool aluminum walker. They sit close at the breakfast table. Fresh fruit, yogurt, hot coffee brighten the day. He lies in a recliner, naps until noon. His breathing slows. She reaches for a blue quilt sewn years before to tuck around him, cradles his head in her hands. Butterflies flutter in her stomach. She recites lines from long ago. As long as we both shall live, she says, as long as we both shall live.
You all are welcome to come take a look. There's a variety of things that I brought today. There's a little Japanese woodworking, an effort to make a kind of primitive um, duck carving, and photographs from a variety of places. So thank you all. Really, really great to be here.